cracks in the illusion often appear not in the thunderclap of disaster, but in the quiet moments. The morning you wake up and feel strangely out of place in your own life. Everything looks the same. The bed, the mirror, the texts you forgot to answer. But something has shifted. A small, trembling recognition stirs. This isn't it. You've checked every box. You've followed the path. And yet, something's missing. This is where the awakening begins. Not in answers, but in the audacity to question. We've been conditioned to believe that life is linear, external, and largely out of our control. That success is a grind, happiness is a reward, and meaning is something you stumble upon if you're lucky. From childhood, we're handed a script: study, work, earn, prove. But what if you've been living someone else's dream? What if the system you're operating within is a projection of unconscious agreements, beliefs you never consented to, but perform daily? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Many of us are living as passengers in lives we're actually driving. Not because we lack power, but because we've forgotten we had it. Reality, we're told, is objective, solid, immutable. But quantum philosophy paints a far stranger picture. At the smallest levels of existence, nothing is fixed until it's observed. Energy and matter are not separate. Possibility is not something outside us. It is us. In the quantum field, everything is potential. It is consciousness that selects. It is thought that collapses the wave. You are not a leaf on the river. You are the river. And yet we resist this truth because it demands something radical. Responsibility. Not blame. Responsibility. Because if your outer world is a reflection of your inner state, then every chaotic pattern, every stuck place, every heartbreak that repeats isn't punishment. It's data. A feedback loop. Your life is not broken. It's broadcasting. And it's broadcasting based on your beliefs, emotions, and intentions, most of which were handed to you long before you knew how to question them. Think about this. Where in your life are you still chasing something you don't believe you deserve? We often pursue what we subconsciously fear, or worse, we avoid what we consciously crave. Why? Because somewhere along the line, someone told us we weren't worthy, or it was too late, or that dreaming was dangerous, and we believed them. We started to identify with lack instead of abundance, with doubt instead of desire, with fear instead of freedom. But here's the moment of power. You can step off that stage. You can stop playing that role. It begins by watching your own mind. Not judging it, not fixing it, just watching. Like a gentle observer behind the eyes, noticing the thought loops and emotional signatures you've been living inside. I always mess this up. People don't really care. Nothing ever lasts. These thoughts are not facts. They are programs. And every program can be rewritten. The illusion is not the life you're living. The illusion is thinking you had no choice in creating it. If you feel trapped, it's not because you're in a cage. It's because you've been given invisible rules about what's possible, and you've followed them faithfully. But the cracks are showing now. You feel it. That subtle yearning for something more true, more aligned, more real. That's not foolishness. That's your original self calling home. This is your invitation to awaken, not by fixing your life, but by remembering who you are. Beneath the roles and routines, beneath the striving and surviving, you are consciousness in motion. You are not here to adapt to broken systems. You are here to imagine new realities, and you do it not by force, but by frequency. Not by control, but by coherence. So pause. Breathe. What parts of your life are you merely surviving? What would happen if you stopped reacting and started remembering? We are only at the beginning, but already the illusion trembles. Imagine your mind as a silent architect, sketching blueprints in real time, not just of ideas, but of reality itself. Every thought you think, every emotion you allow to linger, is a stroke on that invisible canvas. And yet, most of us don't realize we're holding the pen. Quantum theory, often seen as the strange poetry of science, whispers something both unnerving and liberating. The observer changes the observed. That is, what we look at is shaped by the very act of looking. The particles of our world don't settle into reality until we interact with them. We're not just participants, we're creators. But this isn't a science lesson. It's a spiritual recognition wearing the clothes of physics. Your thoughts aren't just mental chatter. They are vibrations, frequencies, pulses of potential. Every thought has an emotional signature, and every emotional signature sends a message into the quantum field. This is who I am. This is what I expect. This is what I'm ready for. And the field, like a mirror made of possibility, responds. Not always instantly, but always precisely. Ever wonder why some people always seem to get what they expect, for better or worse? It's not luck, it's alignment. Your dominant beliefs, repeated thoughts, and felt emotions are shaping your world like hands shaping clay. Not metaphorically, energetically. The signal you send is the life you receive. But here's the catch. Most of us are broadcasting on autopilot. We wake up already feeling behind. We scroll through curated lives and compare ourselves to ghosts. We tell ourselves stories like, this always happens to me, or that's just the way life is, and the universe says, all right, as you wish. It's not judgment. It's resonance. You emit a frequency, and you receive its echo. But what if instead you became deliberate? What if instead of reacting to life, you tuned into it? Take a moment. Close your eyes if you're able. Feel into the frequency of joy, not attached to an outcome, but as a state. The lightness in your chest, the expansion in your breath, the clarity in your mind. Stay there. That state, that vibration, isn't just something you feel. It's something you become. And when you become it, you begin to draw in experiences that match it. Not because you forced them, but because you aligned with them. This is not about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending everything's okay when it's not. It's about choosing the signal you want to send, even while honoring the emotions you're processing. Imagine tuning a radio. You don't hear the music on 103.1 when your dial is set to 92.7. The music is still there, broadcasting, but you're not aligned. Likewise, your dream life isn't far away. It's already vibrating at its own frequency. Your task is not to chase it. Your task is to tune to it. And the dial you use? Thought, emotion, intention, identity. When you hold a belief long enough, it becomes a lens. You stop seeing life as it is and begin seeing it as you are. You walk into a room expecting judgment, and so you find it, even if it's not there. You enter a relationship expecting betrayal, and so you sabotage it without meaning to. You look in the mirror and expect disappointment, so you don't see the light that others do. The question is not whether your thoughts shape reality. The question is, what reality are your thoughts shaping right now? This isn't just theory. This is your life, your relationships, your career, your health, your joy. Everything you experience flows through the filter of your energy. So ask yourself, where are you still unconsciously rehearsing a life you don't want? What would happen if you stopped feeding the frequency of fear and started choosing the frequency of faith? This is not about perfection. It's about participation. The quantum field doesn't need you to be flawless. It simply needs you to be conscious. Conscious of the energy you bring into a room. Conscious of the words you whisper to yourself when no one's watching. Conscious of whether your thoughts are building bridges or walls. Because once you see it, once you truly feel it, you can never unsee it. You are not a victim of reality. You are its blueprint. There's a moment in every transformation when things start to echo. Patterns you thought you'd outgrown reappear. People reflect your oldest wounds. Life seems to loop. It can feel like failure, like you're stuck. But what if it's not punishment? What if it's precision? The field always responds to who you are, not who you pretend to be. And who you are is determined not just by what you say or think on the surface, but by the deepest emotional beliefs you carry, often buried beneath years of survival, protection, and conditioning. Have you ever noticed how some people live the same year over and over, calling it a life? That friend who always ends up heartbroken by someone just like the last one. That colleague who jumps from job to job, always somehow undervalued. That person might be you. And it's not because they or you don't deserve better. It's because their internal script hasn't changed. And the field, faithful and consistent, continues to respond to the vibration they haven't yet rewritten. This is where the blueprint becomes visible, in the repeating loops. It's easy to think of these as flaws in the system, but they're not. They're the system speaking to you in the only way it knows how, through repetition, until you feel it, see it, heal it. Let me tell you about Maya. Maya had spent her whole life being the responsible one. She carried her family emotionally, financially, spiritually. She never asked for help. She prided herself on being dependable, but secretly, she was exhausted. Every relationship she entered ended the same way, with her giving everything and receiving breadcrumbs. Until one day, her therapist said something simple but radical: "You're attracting mirrors, not partners." Maya wasn't unlucky in love. She was emitting the frequency of unworthiness masked as competence. The quantum field, in all its neutrality, reflected that state, over and over, until she changed the signal. And she did, not by forcing love to appear, but by learning to feel worthy without it. That's how the field works. It doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. Wanting by itself signals absence, becoming signals readiness. The moment Maya began embodying enoughness, resting when she needed, saying no without guilt, letting herself be seen without armor, her entire world began to shift. Not immediately, but inevitably. You might think this is coincidence. It's not. It's coherence. And it's not just Maya. It's the man who stopped blaming his boss and started recognizing how his own fear of visibility kept him small. It's the woman who stopped chasing wealth and started healing her fear of instability, and then suddenly, new opportunities emerged from places she'd never expected. The field is always listening, not to your words but to your state. So pause and ask, what pattern has life been showing you lately? What part of your energy is keeping that pattern alive? We live in a responsive universe. That doesn't mean every storm is your fault. It means every storm holds a message. Every delay, every heartbreak, every "why is this happening again" moment is a portal. Not to more suffering, but to self-awareness. When you stop resisting the pattern, you start revealing its purpose. This is where real manifestation begins, not with vision boards or mantras, though those have their place, but with radical self-honesty. You don't attract what you affirm, you attract what you believe, especially about yourself. So when you find the belief beneath the repetition, when you meet it with compassion instead of shame, you start to create a different echo in the field. It's not magic, it's alignment. It's the frequency of truth resonating louder than the static of fear. This is the work, not chasing a better future, but becoming a clearer transmitter, honoring the emotions that visit, but not letting them build homes, catching the thoughts that sabotage and replacing them with ones that build, feeling the pain of old patterns, not to wallow, but to witness their origin, because once seen, they lose their grip. You are not broken, you are broadcasting, and when you shift the signal, the world responds. Not because it's suddenly better, but because you are. The field doesn't lie, it simply echoes. So if you're ready for a different life, ask not just what you want, ask, who must I become to receive it? If your life were a song, what station would you be tuned to right now? Most people don't realize that their emotional state is the signal they're sending out, and every signal attracts its match. You can't tune to despair and receive joy. You can't radiate scarcity and receive abundance. The universe isn't punishing you, it's responding to your vibration. This is the heart of tuning the signal. Tuning isn't about faking happiness or forcing optimism. It's about becoming coherent, aligning your thoughts, emotions, and identity in a unified frequency. That's when manifestation becomes inevitable, not because you manipulated the external, but because you recalibrated the internal. The question becomes, how do I tune? You begin with awareness. Start by noticing what you feel when you're not trying to impress anyone. What's the background emotion of your days? Anxious? Heavy? Hopeful? Numb? These aren't just moods, they're data points. Signals you're broadcasting into the field, even when you're not speaking a word. The next step is honesty. Most people skip this one. They want to feel better, sure, but they're not ready to admit what's really going on beneath the surface. They affirm I'm abundant while secretly feeling like a fraud. They visualize their dream partner while believing deep down they're unlovable. But the field doesn't respond to words, it responds to frequency. So if you want to tune your signal, you must confront your truth. Gently, courageously. Where are you still pretending? Where are you afraid to be seen? And most importantly, what version of you are you still trying to protect? Because sometimes, the frequency we emit isn't one of joy or pain, it's one of defense. We build identities around wounds. We wear busyness to avoid stillness. We overachieve to silence the voice that says, "You're not enough." But what happens when you stop trying to be impressive and start trying to be real? That's where coherence begins. Because when your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs harmonize, you become a magnet, not for anything in particular, but for everything aligned. This is where practices like meditation, visualization, and breathwork become more than rituals. They become tuning forks. Not because they make things happen, but because they quiet the noise. They clear the static. They return you to the signal beneath the conditioning. Try this. Close your eyes and breathe slowly. Not to fix anything, just to listen. Feel the space beneath the chatter. The stillness beneath the striving. That space is where the true signal lives. That's where your power has always been. You don't need to force clarity, you need to receive it. Emotional guidance is also key. Your emotions are not obstacles, they are indicators. When you feel contraction, tight chest, anxious mind, closed heart, that's your body telling you you're out of tune. When you feel expansion, lightness, peace, resonance, that's alignment. Let your emotions become your compass, not your enemy. Too often we dismiss this wisdom. We override it with logic or obligation. But your body doesn't lie. It's a transmitter, a barometer, a living interface with the quantum field. When you ignore it, you confuse the signal. When you honor it, you clarify it. So ask yourself, what does my body feel when I imagine my dream life? Does it contract or does it open? That sensation tells you everything. And once you're aware of your signal, you begin the most sacred work, choosing. Not once, but over and over. Choosing presence over projection. Choosing clarity over confusion. Choosing joy not as a reward, but as a practice. You become deliberate. You move from reaction to creation. And that shift, that inner, invisible shift, is what starts to reorganize the field around you. People begin to treat you differently. Opportunities you never expected appear. Not because something out there changed, but because someone in here did. The signal changed, and the music of your life started playing a different song. So take a moment now, not to ask for something, but to become something. Close your eyes, breathe, and ask, what would it feel like to already be there? Not someday, now. Hold that frequency for just a few seconds longer than is comfortable. Then longer still. That's how you rewire. That's how you shift timelines. Not through force, but through frequency. Not through effort, but through embodiment. And when the world responds, and it will, it won't feel like magic. It'll feel like remembering. Becoming the blueprint is not about becoming someone new. It's about shedding everything that isn't truly you. All the armor you put on to survive. All the masks you wore to be accepted. All the beliefs you inherited, absorbed, repeated, without ever stopping to ask, is this mine? This is where your power becomes embodied. We've come full circle. You started as a passive participant in a world you thought just was. Now, you're beginning to remember. Reality bends to the energy of your presence. Not because you demand it, but because you are it. To truly manifest is to become. To shift your identity, not through hustle or hyper-discipline, but through resonance. Who would you be if you fully believed you were already whole, already abundant, already deeply worthy of love, peace, and freedom? Sit with that, not as an affirmation, but as an identity. You've seen how thoughts send signals, how emotions carry frequencies. But here's the final key. The identity you inhabit determines the reality you sustain. Because you don't get what you want. You get what you are willing to embody. This is the difference between momentary wins and lasting transformation. You might visualize success, repeat mantras, journal every day, but if you're still identifying with scarcity, guilt, fear, or shame, your outer world will match that inner distortion. So how do you shift identity? By practicing the state of being before the evidence appears. This is the paradox that most people miss. You don't wait for the external to confirm the internal. You declare it within, live from it consistently, and let the external catch up. Your new self becomes the cause, not the effect, of your new life. This takes courage. It's far easier to react to what is than to align with what isn't visible yet. But here's where the quantum blueprint truly becomes alive. Everything you're dreaming of already exists as a potential reality. It's not out there, waiting for you. It's in here, waiting for you to match it. And the match is made through belief, feeling, and action. Not the kind of action rooted in proving or striving, but in being. Subtle shifts, energetic integrity, choosing differently, not just in behavior but in thought, walking into rooms as the version of you who knows, speaking with the tone of someone who remembers, not performing, not pretending, becoming. Think of it this way. Every time you choose from the new identity, however small the act, you're collapsing a new wave into form. Every time you resist the pull of the old self, you're dissolving an outdated timeline. Every time you decide, I'm no longer available for that version of me, you're rebirthing your frequency. This is how the blueprint changes. Not all at once, but one conscious choice at a time. Yes, doubt will visit. Yes, fear will rise. You are still human after all, but now you know what to do with it. Observe it, honor it, transcend it. Say, thank you for trying to protect me, but we're choosing differently now. And choose again. This path isn't always loud. Often it's incredibly quiet. A sacred rebellion against your old self. A soft revolution of awareness. 1,000 micro movements toward alignment. The results may not show instantly, but the shift, you'll feel it. The breath that comes easier. The conversation that goes deeper. The synchronicity that shows up just when you need it. And eventually, the undeniable moment when you realize, I'm living a life I once only imagined. And even then, it's not an ending, it's a beginning. Because you'll keep evolving. The blueprint will keep expanding. There's no final form, only deeper embodiment, more profound presence, greater levels of coherence. So ask yourself one final time, who am I when I stop shrinking? What reality would I step into if I trusted my energy more than my circumstances? Because that's what becoming is. A remembrance of what you've always known. You are not here to wait. You are not here to wish. You are here to tune, to transmit, to transform. You are the observer. You are the architect. You are the blueprint. And the world is listening. What if the reality you're craving isn't somewhere far away, but already within you, waiting for recognition? You've journeyed through illusion and awareness, from unconscious patterns to intentional tuning. You've met yourself not just as a mind or body, but as a living frequency, shaping, sending, receiving. This isn't a philosophy to admire. It's a practice to embody. There is no perfect day to begin. You are the doorway, and this moment is the invitation. So take a breath, tune in, and ask, what am I ready to become? If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to remember their power. Leave a comment below and let us know what part of your blueprint you're rewriting. And if you're ready to go deeper into the art of alignment, subscribe. We're just getting started. Your thoughts shape your world. Shape them wisely.